Lee Sin looks like a guy who could limbo.
He definitely could. All right, so Lee Sin and Twisted Fate, the ban. So second game in a row, SBENU has banned the TF against Sky. No more Flawless Lee Sin, which does make me rather disappointed, but we can still hope for that last pick red side champion for Sassin, who always seems to have some sort of bizarre ace up his sleeve.
I want to see a melee bruiser mid. You really got me going with the idea of Poppy mid, so that's the ballpark I'm looking for.
Well, Faker's not here, so I guess we're not going to see Aurelia mid.
It's true.
Sadly enough.
Kuro approves of that.
All right, TF and Gangplank are our first two bans for SBENU. And no more Lissandra. So they're trying to ban out some of the picks that SBENU took in that last game and used to initiate on them. So we'll see if SBENU can initiate it with other champions.
Saw also has only played Lissandra this season, so
that's true.
We'll have to go somewhere different from the top lane. This guy was one of the big question marks next to specifically Catch last season. It felt like Nuclear, Secret, and Sassin all had varying levels of respect. So see how deep Saw's top lane pool goes after Lissandra's off the board.
So Rise, our penultimate ban in this draft phase. SBENU will take out Victor. That's actually our first Victor ban of the season.
No Victor tonight, surprisingly.
No Victor. Very interesting.
Fly also wasn't picking that champion despite it being a staple of a lot of the games that KT played in week 1.
Yeah, opting for the Lux instead, at least in that first game. And then 2 games of Lissandra. So CJ here, the Corki is up. It's been very popular. Now that we're on 6.1 here in Korea.
Don't really know what to expect from Sky, whether it will actually be a flex pick Corki or whether it will just be something for Kramer. I feel like Twisted Fate at least has gotten a lot of respect, but it's the growing champion pool after the Twisted Fate that's kind of the question mark for Sky.
Callista might be the grab. It was banned by CJ in the last game. Now they have the opportunity to first pick it. It has been replaced by the Corki picks in a lot of these games when it comes to priority. Of course, was banned at least, and it will be Lulu, actually.
Is that our first Lulu of the night? There certainly hasn't been a
Well, there have been a lot of Lulu bans tonight, so yes, Lulu has been banned in every single other game.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to get through the draft, but didn't in the end, as you mentioned, so Lulu first picked.
And that means Fiora could be available if SoHwan wants to take that pick into the top side. Kindred now on the board, banned by CJ in the last game. They thought Flawless was a threat, so we may get another mechanical jungler from Flawless in the end.
Definitely a champion that might reward an aggressive streak that Flawless definitely has shown with his aggressively Sin Qs.
Come on, Sor, first pick Riven, do it.
Do it.
You Riven main, you beautiful bastard.
You're losing it, Monty.
Oh. It will be Callista and Kindred with a laugh there on your screen from Sassin. So having some fun at least in the draft of game number 2.
Bubbling, considering the Elise, control junglers are plenty. No jungle bans outside of the Lee Sin so far.
Yeah, again the Rek'Sai really falling by the wayside this evening.
It's always crucial to try and find a displacement to deal with Kindred's Lamb's Respite. Obviously Elise can duel her pretty well, depending on who gets the jump. This is definitely who gets the jump on who when it comes to Elise and Kindred. But
on whom?
On whom, my apologies. But no displacement with those 2 picks, so potential of Lamb Respite to really get out of hand in a extended team fight. But there's the displacement.
Yeah, I was going to say, Alistar's still available. Has been Madlife's go-to when it's been up this season.
Just for a little bit, yeah, just this season.
Just this season.
New pick for Madlife, the Alistar.
He's really expanding his champion pool.
Blitzcrank, please.
I really would love to see Madlife Blitzcrank again. It's been far too long.
It's kind of sad on some note that 12 seasons in, 3 bans against them, this CJ lineup doesn't draw a support ban.
Yeah. Well, we don't see too many of those in the current meta, at least in Korea. Occasionally a Thresh, depending on certain Thresh specialists like Snowflower, but for the most part, and the occasional Alistar ban. Now some thoughts going into the next pick. They would like to get a tank in the top lane this game to support the Kindred.
The dream. It's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
definitely the Callista goes off next to Kindred comp at the moment.
So Alistair Morgana, so deciding to go for more protection for this double 80 carry and more peel. So tons and tons of peel. All told, Fate's Call, got the Soul Shackles, and of course the Gnar ultimate.
Outside chance, once again, Morgana mid.
I suppose that is a very strange possibility, but with Ssumday, I'm not willing to write anything off, Papa Smithy.
Not quite spicy enough though. That's that's a 5 out of 10 when it comes to the outside picks. We're looking for something crazy with this last pick.
Well, he's got a counter pick for everything. He just needs to know if it's Lulu in the mid lane or if Untara will be using Lulu in the top side instead. It would appear that they are going to go for another Tahm Kench composition.
How do you feel about front lines?
This Tahm Kench composition is easily the most awkward Tahm Kench composition I've ever seen. You take Ezreal as your carry, so they have an enormous front line, but virtually no damage here.
Nope, none at all.
Maybe super late, but this is very odd. That is Nidalee, and you've guessed it proper. So it will be a mid lane Kindred.
Oh, baby.
So I have seen this in certain games in this patch, I will say. I've seen 80 carry Kindred. It actually happened in the NALCS.
It did?
Yep. And then I've seen mid lane Kindred. So it is technically a flex pick. It's just not something that we see with a lot of regularity right now.
Ssumday lives up to his name. This guy is
Loved it. All right. Well, we got what we
picks.
wanted. We got what we wanted. A mid lane Kindred, courtesy of Ssumday. He will be a carry right here. They take Flawless on a Nidalee, actually. So another flashy jungler for Flawless to show off on, and they have a solid front line too with that Gnar. Meanwhile, CJ, not sure what they're going to be doing with their composition. They've got a lot of movement speed for an Ezreal. This is probably the worst draft that we've seen this season, Papa Smithy.
I think on both sides, a bit questionable. Gnar is a solo front line with basically only poke squishies behind him is also interesting.
They have Kindred ult, come on.
Not for the Gnar, though. He's just going to be chilling in the front line. This is something.
This is something indeed. All right, game number 2 of CJ versus SBENU is coming up. We'll see if CJ can do something with their 0 damage composition. My guess is no. My guess is no.
Not
Papa
damage,
Smithy.
anyway.
Yeah. All right. Game number 2. Can SBENU take this 2-0, or will CJ get their first game win of the season and send us into game 3?
There's a moment of clarity where I knew what they wanted to roll. Been muddied since then.
Yeah. So it's very confusing, those pre-game intros. Okay, SBENU comes in. Ssumday in the mid lane on Kindred. We have a lot of backline damage. See if they can keep their carries alive, but you know what, Papa Smithy? I think they can. I think they can keep their carries alive because there's no one on CJ to actually kill them.
No.
They're going to be really good at saving this Ezreal.
Do you just use the Kindred ult for sustain at some point?
I mean, maybe.
During your siege, just pop it to top yourself up.
They're just going to keep on poking them over and over and over again with Nidalee spears and auto attacks from Kindred and Callista and Gnar. I don't really know what the goal of CJ's composition is. They can't split push, can't really siege, at least not early, and their team fight is very, very low damage.
Well, we've seen SKT win on similar comps, but with a Lucian 80 carry. I don't know if Blue Ezreal is the plug and play. Obviously, does a lot of things in the late game, but he's always been kind of more of a hyper carry of mobility and poke rather than any sort of right-click auto-attack damage carry.
Yeah, and this may turn into Nidalee spears versus Ezreal pews in
Maybe
the
you
late
just
game.
go Trinity Force Ezreal and go full damage.
Yeah, fair enough. That could actually work. I suppose it does depend on the build, but I think we're going to see a blue Ezreal, Papa Smithy.
I would say, almost certainly.
Well, we will live in this land of despair together then.
We've ventured there. I mean, we were in a very different land in Series 1. Ecstasy, almost.
Yeah, it was a great series. This one, has been plodding and slow. And Secret is looking for some sort of angle under the Lulu, but there's just nothing there right now. And the Sentinel's patrolling the jungle, so he's nice and safe, but no early movement in this lane swap. They're going to just take the Scuttle Crab and deny the vision, as well as the possibility of stacking for Sassen's Kindred.
Worth noting that this time around CJ Entus a lot cleaner on the jungle follow and with the lane swap, so we'll be in the right spot to get that 4-man push off. They were a bit behind in the previous game, but fixed those issues, so that's good for them. Slight adjustment there.
Certainly an improvement, but how much of one, how much that will result, we will wait and see. As both of our teams hit that outer turret at the same time and start working away on that objective. Scuttle Crab will be taken eventually by Bubbling here. Prioritizes that as best he can, and SBENU now in the bottom side, Secret and Nuclear helping their buddy soar out and clearing out that minion wave while Nidalee simply works her way through the jungle.
So we get an isolated matchup in the mid lane. Kindred, from the Kindred we've seen, hit level 2 and just going all in, usually bengi in the enemy jungle. Definitely does have a lot of burst potential, especially if the Lulu pushes up in the mid lane. And obviously if Flawless comes in with a gank, not much CC, but a lot of damage can come through. But you mentioned that this is starting to push up in terms of priority, starting to become more of a thing. Why mid lane, Kindred? Why not another champion? Why not another AD champion, like the Jace, for example, that Ssumday was playing?
Yeah, played last week. Also, you know, we didn't see a Corki in this game.
Nope.
Could have easily gone right back to the Corki that he played last time around. There must be something about the Lulu Kindred matchup that he likes, because they left the Lulu up in this game. And see some very nice trading there from Sassen.
Also tanks a lot of minions, but does win the damage. I guess the one thing you could say, the one thing I noticed in that interaction is that when you pop your W, the Lulu disengage from the Glitter Lance isn't enough because you just have the reposition with the Q.
Yep. Ward over the wall finds Bubbling. So a near miss there from Sassen. He actually walked up where there's an Alistar hidden right around the corner. Could have ended up with him burning his flash, but gets a bit fortunate and isn't caught up in some sort of chain CC by the Alistar and the Elise.
You'll be pleased to know that we do get Kramer farming alone in the bot lane 1v1 on the Ezreal.
Yep, does have the tier though, so the blue build will be confirmed. Madlife now coming up. So this is the same style of lane swap that we saw from the Rocks Tigers in our first series of the evening.
Really all about getting the Ezreal into a solo lane.
Oh, that third proc forces a flash after the polymorph, so Sassen with the all-in doesn't have a chance to get his Ignite off, but now he has 2 summoners against just a TP from Lulu, and he's finding ways to make this Kindred work.
I mean, this is 2 games in a row that he's taken Ignite on champions you wouldn't expect. His choice of summoner for AD carries is Ignite, but hasn't really been able to... I mean, obviously, just picking up the summoner gives you lane control, gives you pressure because you have that extra damage in a trade, but he hasn't been using it as proactively as I would have expected.
Pink ward cleared up by Flawless there ever so carefully, trying to dodge in and out of that brush to make sure he doesn't get locked down. And here's a teleport from Antara right back into the lane after being pushed up. So they're trying desperately to keep this tower from getting destroyed too terribly early and give this Ezreal some time to scale in the bottom lane. Meanwhile, Sky also uses his teleport to return to the mid lane, but Kindred starting to get a bit scary. Hex Drinker already purchased by Sassen.
This is where Sassen wants to hold the lane towards his side of the lane so that if Lulu ever overextends for a CS, just apply that Mounting Dread, start to hit those trades, because the trades with no damage items are already looking good. Adding a Hex Drinker only going to help his case.
Well, you're wrong, Papa Smithy, because he autoed the wave and pushed it forward, so... Apparently he wants to play a little bit more aggressively this time.
All right.
Sassen's going all out.
On the minions.
Yeah, on the minions.
Look at that. Wolf's just killing them. Great.
Wolf's really happy to kill minions. I love when Wolf flips out like that.
Baby rage.
All right. Soar now, keeping things nice and pushed up. And Nuclear and Secret have found a way without Madlife there to get even more damage down. So CJ is paying the price for this lane swap and their decisions around this blue Ezreal. And I just don't know if you do this with no wave clear in your top side. When we saw the Tigers doing this, you know, they tried to do it with the Tom Kench, but it wasn't punished, in my opinion.
Well, the punishment's certainly coming in. 3-man strong, flawless paths around top. They get the turret. Remember, CJ are investing heavily in getting levels and time onto the Ezreal. To what end in the late game? That's where it really leads us to scratch our heads, because it's not clear what late game team fights that CJ win look like demonstrably.
Yes, and with this Ezreal too, relying on Kramer to be this absolute monster AD carry and building this composition that is entirely based around him seems a bit presumptuous for this particular player. Of course, he does have competitive experience, was on the Flash Wolves in the LMS, but he's by no means what we would consider even a top 5 AD carry here in Korea right now.
He went to Worlds, Monte Cristo.
He got benched at Worlds.
That's true. He played, though.
He did.
That's more than any of the other CJ players.
You're making me sad right now.
Well, gonna farm up down the bottom. And SBENU, given what they're facing, what do you think their shot calling is about in terms of where to play, like how much pressure to put in? Like, do you think they understand
I think
where they're strong and where they're weak at?
I think you just play around Dragon. If you're SBENU right now, you have a lot of zone control. You have the Callista to secure the objectives. You've got traps from Nidalee and the threat of an R ult into a Dragon pit. So why not just try and go for 5 Dragon stacks?
Why not?
I think that's what I would do. You can always disengage with the help of the Kindred ultimate.
Well, it's what we're expecting is some Dragon play. We haven't seen any yet. The first Dragon was taken much later than the previous series, about 12, 13 minutes in the previous game.
Well, they've just kind of swapped back down, but if I'm SBENU right now, because of the way this Ezreal is playing, he doesn't even go for the Iceborne first and instead picks up the Mount of Mune, so just go for the Dragon. Push forward, get that control down. Kindred is unquestionably in control of the mid lane and the mid wave, so just push out, take the Dragon, try and get those objectives rolling as early as possible.
I really don't like what I'm expecting from SoHwan. Now, there's still the potential that he goes into a Frozen Mallet like we saw last series, but I'm guessing it might be a Sterix Gauge, which made me very sad. Here's to hoping for the Frozen Mallet.
Yeah, his Frozen Mallet did work on the Tom Kench.
It seemed really powerful to get that hyper damage because you're just getting so many auto attacks. With so many turrets being down because of lane swaps, you're getting so many free autos. As Flawless during this time, he listened to you. He's going to take the Dragon.
He is, but they have no mid laner right now, so he's going to be taking a bit of a risk, but does manage to come through with the solo Dragon take with that Nidalee in the end, bubbling on the opposite side of the map with his buddy Untara here for some Rift Herald tanking.
Who's going to pick it up, though?
Who is it going to be? It is going to be Bubbling, who is in the school of thought as to who should take the Rift Herald in the early game.
I don't know about that school.
But 10% movement speed, Papa Smithy.
You get to the camps faster. Exactly what Elise needs.
You get back to lane faster after you have to recall when you take Rift Herald.
Rift Herald, top objective.
What a savings of time, Papa Smithy.
Well,
okay, so Sasa wants to go in on this. Sky has to move on out as Nuclear and Secret try to follow up, and Sky needs to use his Whimsy a little bit defensively to get back underneath the turret.
CJ just playing back. Probably unsure what to do when you pick Lulu for lane control and just been so thoroughly out-pressured by Ignite mid lane Kindred.
We do. Highly threatening position. Madlife comes on through to clear out wards. Sassen not quite going to be hit by the Glitter Lance. Dodges out at the end. Keeps his pink ward nice and safe on the bottom side of the river.
Big downside with mid lane Kindred is that hasn't really been able to leave lane to pick up any stacks.
Ooh, Flawless actually hits a big spear on the Bubbling right there, giving them even more vision control.
Runic Echo Spears, especially early game, really do resonate.
I mean, literally resonating with damage.
Yeah. There's no resonating strikes this game, so I had to add it in somewhere.
Flawless still playing Lee Sin even when he can.
That's pretty similar.
All right, bubbling here, looking for the kill onto Soar. Soar is going to get flashed on, but there's no actual, oh my, the flash cocoon is going to miss. Now, can they get it? Soar, is he going to get hit Megadar in time? The answer is no. Spat on the ground to his demise. But how much are they going to lose for this? Because there's no immediate objective to take, and the True Shot Barrage cleans out the minion wave, but Nuclear and Secret are still hungry for more turrets.
Madlife's level 4. Wow, he's really been on the roam. Just pings 5, but level behind his opponent and then some.
Well, again, he hasn't been in lane, hardly at all. We've seen him roaming while he left Ezreal to his own devices, and that meant, of course, that Secret, who is constantly paired up in the lane with Nuclear, but there hasn't been any measurable success to Madlife's roaming yet, hasn't been able to help out with any kills or accomplish anything on that front.
Kindred gets the second mark of the Kindred. I believe the second time that they had a favorable roll on the mark. Mark's now onto Sky. Almost said Shy. No, it's Sky. But,
definitely not Shy. Sasa now wants to move in.
He's out of mana.
He's out of mana, but he does get that final Q forward for some more damage.
Kindred's definitely not a siege specialist. Obviously good for anti-engage, but the range means that always a bit risky to do auto attacks onto a turret with the shorter attack range of Kindred.
Are you ready for the waiting game, Bob Smithy?
Oh,
there's really no wave clear on SBENU either, so it's difficult for them to push forward onto some of these turrets and try and snowball the lead that they've managed to get at this stage. Kramer slowly gathering power in his own lane, but not seeing much of a CS advantage in spite of being left alone in the 1v1 for a large portion of this early game.
I'm not ready for the waiting game, Montecristo.
I'm sorry. That's too bad, Papa Smithy.
Rod of Ages has been picked up by Sky, so there's another waiting game added.
At the very least, Sword managed to come out with a nice CS edge because he has been making use of that long lane relatively efficiently. And his harassment on Untara. So here we go. It's time for some more dragon stacking in 95 seconds.
Yay!
Oh no, it's a pause.
Okay.
All right. So back in the pause, we'll see what's up in this particular game that has been moving relatively slowly. One kill here at 14 minutes. It looks like Flawless might have an issue with his PC here.
Not really too much to comment on. Madlife still level 5 at 14 minutes. He certainly has been evading experience wherever he went. Obviously trying to... He was involved in many 3-person lanes because, of course, Ezreal had maneuvered to the bottom lane to pick up solo experience. Item pickups are to be expected. I guess one of the small reasons why we might be seeing a bigger suite of 80 carries, I guess you say, but 80 champions in the mid lane is that Maw really does build well and give them a much earlier power spike than some of the stacking Mana Moon champions from yesteryear.
Yeah, I really think you made a great point about that in the other game with armor penetration being at such a premium these days. Having the early Maw of Malmortius in the mid lane like we saw from Kuro really had a lot of value to it when it came to snowballing. Madlife is praying right now.
What do you think he's praying for, though?
But what do you think he's praying for, Papa Smithy?
He's praying for March.
It's like, if I go to sleep now, will I wake up in March?
There's an off chance.
Yeah, possibly. Hopefully not, though.
Doesn't look like a man having a great time, but it's late. This is the 5th game of the night here. And it's going to be a long season.
It is for CJ. Now you got to just grin and bear it at this point if you're a CJ player and you're a CJ fan. And, you know, we talked about this before, but at the very least, I think this is better than the alternative, which CJ had been pursuing, which is taking sort of ancient talent and trying to continuously put them in that situation, which in some ways was more painful because a lot of the players on CJ's who used to be among the best in the world never really regained their former glory.
It was kind of that situation where the way forward was 5th to 6th or 7th. Somewhere between 4 and 8 was where they were going to fit, but there was always in the future going to need to be a rebuild. They just finally pulled the trigger on it.
Yeah, they did. I think even Madlife is smart. He actually did perform pretty well last year, and he has actually been doing pretty well so far this year, although the season is quite new. And you have to have some sort of veteran voice on the team for people to learn from. Of course, Shy is still on CJ. He's just taking more of an advisory position, at least in the moment, taking a break. We do know he had some wrist and hand issues last year.
And I think Untara, in general, has been pretty
pretty
good.
I agree.
I think more of the problems has come from specifically jungle and mid, those two.
Yeah.
Bubbling's the only jungler on the roster, awkwardly though, so maybe a top-up player towards the middle of the season might be important. Not that he's been catch level, let's say, but...
Well, that's hard to do, Bob Smith.
That's true. It's a unique talent. But maybe some competition would help.
Absolutely. So here we go, another push onto the mid lane as Sky has to get uncomfortably close. Madlife will zone them out, but they get more damage each time. A Black Shield is down, but guess what? Callista's in this game. So there's no chance of getting the pick right there for CJ, but they do force an ultimate. Soar still playing aggressively now on the bottom side, trying to continuously do damage to the farm score of Untara. And CJ is going to get Dragon number 2, absolutely uncontested. That is a major win condition for SBENU that has been wiped off the board.
You wouldn't know it from the wards around it because there was none. There was no SBENU wards anywhere near. So
that was definitely one of their better ways to win this game with their composition. So I'm surprised that they let it go and put such an emphasis on sieging the mid turret instead. That's definitely not what you want right now if you're SBENU.
No, it seems like a low percentage play, but they're going to do what teams have been more wanting to do. The introduction of the Rift Herald means there is a cross-map objective to take. We will now play the who will pick it up game.
It's going to be flawless.
Oh, we'll never know. Actually, we do know it was flawless.
Wow. Bubbling actually going to flash forward on a Secret. They're going to get a quick kill with the burst from the Echoes. And Madlife now coming over. He's going to catch Nuclear under the turret. So actually well-executed gank right there as Secret and Nuclear get a bit careless. They ostensibly knew that there was nobody actually going to be in the top side because they were taking Rift Herald, so they should have known that the Dragon was going down, in which case you don't face check the river.
But it's still hopefully a sign of future CJ that there was a clear shot call, it was acted on, it was well done. Madlife came around the side to ensure they mopped up the second kill. They trade objectives, but crucially lose their mid lane turret. So obviously an overall win of the trade for CJ, but a heavy price to give up the mid lane turret.
Yeah, it's going to be okay for SBENU, but again, when we talk about their composition, when you have Callista and Kindred, sieging is difficult. So what do you want to do? Go for the Dragon or the Baron instead. Secret just gets entirely caught out, but the Dragon had just been done. This is just sloppy awareness from SBENU.
They just overstayed their welcome, were punished accordingly, but I agree, this team fight comp from SBENU. Nidalee wants to poke around turrets, Saw wants to go in the front with another dive, but they have no other front line, and Sarsen and Nuclear want to kite backwards.
All right, Flawless now here to put some punishment onto Untara. TP going to come in, Bubbling already there. They're trying to turn this around. Flawless is caught, has to flash. That was a good flash over the wall, but he's still pinned in by the members of CJ. Soar looks like he's going to get out. Kramer gets a kill, though, onto this Nidalee, and they clean up one in the top side, too. Abyssal Voyage coming down, but there's no one there as Secret is yanked out with the Fate's Call. And Kindred just not really a part of that fight as every single member of CJ is in that top side. They're going to get the mid turret right here. There is no defense.
Just in League of Swiftness boots, in League of Quick Champions, we've seen multiple games where Kindreds have never been able to set up shop and actually get a big part of a team fight done. Ultimate's available, Ignite is down, but mid lane Kindred, shouldering a lot more burden than an AD carry from the jungle, but just not really pulling away.
Yeah, and if you're going to try and run this composition, you have to be able to make picks with it. Kramer takes the blue, but sloppy play here. Untara, not the right target to make picks on. Flawless gets a flash over the thick part of the wall, but he's caught between a rock and a hard place. Meanwhile, Soar tries to get out. Sky, though, flashes, glitter lances, and that's it.
This time the blue Ezreal had both items completed, was able to walk around and
what
do damage.
A bold Baron call, but they can't finish it off. They pop over the wall, but CJ, wise to their tricks, uses a scrying orb to find them.
That would have been a steal. 20-minute spawn into Baron attempt.
Bold.
Bold.
Very bold. But we see SBENU, it's mostly been the vision game for CJ that's had them winning. They had a lockdown on the top side of the river, just blanketed with their wards. And so CJ safely able to counteract that gank. And now we have SBENU. They've got the outer ring of turrets, they've got a dragon, but they have no kills and they are at a deficit. And they're going to try for Untara one more time. Here we go, he's just going to TP out. There is no actual CC right there. So easily done as he swapped side of the maps. Well, let's push over here instead, no problem.
Nice play from Untara again. One of the best performers of this new CJ lineup. In general, CJ played this match pretty good. It's just...
TP coming in from the flank here, but it's not going to be too far forward. Soar is in Meganar. He's going to scoop him into the wall. Now everyone from SBENU is piling on Madlife in ultimate, so he's not taking that damage, but the rend is not quite enough to kill him. SoHwan cleans it up, and that is going to be a blue build Ezreal with a red buff, so you're not going to chase that one, but you do get 2 kills for none with the help of that TP. Now, where do you go from here if you're SBENU? You're going to go take a red buff, apparently, and try and check out the enemy jungle, get some wards in, but otherwise, not much of an accomplishment unless Bubbling manages to fall. He's getting low, does get chopped up by Untara and taken to safety under his turret. Wow, Kramer wants to go aggressive on his Secret, gets him with the auto after the flash. No follow-up here from SBENU and no Callista ultimate to actually save his life.
It's pretty plain, though, that Kramer will be riding double buffs the majority of this game. Late game Blue Ezreal can do a lot of things. It's just the damage to specifically take down enemies. It's hard to quantify in the later parts of this game, but for now, he's doing his job, and CJ are playing this comp well.
Yeah, they are. It's a tough comp to run, but they get another turret down with this Ezreal, so the poke working out for them, at least for the moment. But again, it's the closure to this game without an epic lead that will be difficult for CJ as the itemization becomes more threatening. Soar has gone for a black cleaver here. Secret going to die again, actually just gets stunned and sort of awkwardly stands there. Bubbling finishes it off.
The solo warding missions from Secret have cost him all of his 3 deaths, been picked off multiple times. CJ pick up a second dragon. Crowd seems pumped, and honestly, they're playing by far the more clean League of Legends of these two teams.
Yeah, no arguments there. They've come out time and time again, with the exception of that one TP play, which was pretty well executed by SBENU. Certainly Soar in that Meganar form, got a nice ultimate, but they haven't taken down that key target of Kramer to turn this into something close to a win. Flawless takes a bunch of poke, but pounces out of the way of the cocoon.
I mean, taking down Kramer, it's impossible at this point. 40% CDR, already safe as a Blue Ezreal. Then we talk factoring in Tahm Kench, Lulu, and Alistar. Taking him down will be difficult. It's just that, conversely, it should be very difficult for CJ to be picking up kills on the side of SBENU. So an even 5v5 fight will be a delight to watch. But so far, it's evaded us.
That's the big question, is what is this 5v5 going to look like? We really haven't even seen a Kindred ultimate used yet. So Sasa not doing too terribly much with his champion. He hasn't managed to acquire a large lead in the laning phase. Did get the pressure advantage, but it didn't translate into a whole lot.
Score and Peanut accepted. It's been definitely a premium to find strong Kindred play. Kindred in general has been a large non-factor in a lot of fights. You just think back to SKT. Blank trying to run the Kindred and just being completely bossed around by the multiple AD carry comp that Jin Air were running. You need to be so on point with your position. You need to be kiting backwards. You need to be grouped with your threats. There are so many conditions for the Lambs, by obviously a powerful ability, but playing around it just doesn't seem to be the name of the game just yet.
All right, more poke comes through, but they have the heal from the Nidalee. Meanwhile, Soar trying to make his presence known on the side. He's built so much damage, though, he's just going to get flash cocoon, has to flash himself, as the runic echo damage really hurts him, considering that he just is much more of a damage-oriented Gnar this game and doesn't really have the necessary tankiness for the team fights. It's not the build that's going to be successful with a Nidalee Kalista Kindred composition.
Also, it's a build that's piloted to be in a 1v1 against the opponent top laner, so it's strange that he was in the bottom side of the map to potentially be picked off. Now finally going to go wail on the Tahm Kench.
Well, it seemed like he was looking for a flank right there, but no real opportunities to do so, and his Gnar wasn't in a place where that was really a realistic possibility.
They have certainly not been outscaled on the damage front yet.
Uh-oh. Bubbling is cut off. Ssumday now on the side. He uses his Ignite, but it doesn't kill Bubbling in the end. But here's a TP onto the tier 1. Gnar is in Mega Gnar form, but that's an easy disengage as SBENU awkwardly runs straight at CJ, who has that blue Ezreal. There is no chance of an engage there.
A low percentage play, you'd say, from Saw specifically.
I mean, Untara TP too, so at least they traded TP for TP.
They've got the timer, I guess.
They have the timer. It's a win for everybody.
Yay. Well, SBENU just trying to move back to the top. They tried that sneaky Baron at 20 minutes. That was nice to see. Just tried to pull one over the wool over the eyes of CJ, but
let's do it again.
Agreed.
Why not?
Force that Baron.
Clear out the vision. Soar now is cut out by a cocoon, but pops.
Leaves.
Yeah, pops out of the river. That's it. Slash laugh, get out of there, no problem. More wards. Hit the jungle. Flawless actually finds Bubbling with a Runic Echo's proc.
I was wondering when Nuclear's build would go with Kindred, because the few Kindreds we've seen in similar matches have gone very, very tanky. Items like the Sterix Gauge and the Maw Malmortius, but actually already has a Last Whisper, so erring back to more of an old Kindred build. Is a lot of armor stack already coming through from CJ, so you can understand it, but it feels like even worldwide it's not just been a Stitch special. We've seen a lot of very tanky Kalistas come to the fore.
Yeah, that has been definitely a continuing trend. I like that itemization. It does seem very appropriate in the right situations, as Sky going to be trading here with Ssumday. Ssumday continuously hopping backwards, trying to avoid some of these Mystic shots.
Teleports are not up for either top laner, so mirror split pushing, or the big lead for Tahm Kench and turret damage.
And there we go. Trishot Barrage does hit Flawless. Flawless has a heal though, but CJ wants to charge up the mid lane, and Tara is going to get the first tier 2 turret, but because of the itemization of Gnar, he is actually able to chew through faster than the Tahm Kench. So CJ is going to have to break this off. Gnar should keep pushing right now. And finally delays his recall. They're going to get it. And we see Kramer. He's caught out, but he gets the wild growth onto a Madlife, falling low in the front line. And now Ssumday wants to back off. Secret nearly dead. Nuclear not able to do enough damage to finish off this team fight. Now Intara is here, courtesy of the Abyssal Voyage. They're all so low. Can Kramer clean this one up? I think the answer is going to be yes. Soar is finally here. Bubbling does fall to Gnar, and they're going to try and turn this, but Soar is so squishy for a Gnar. Will hit Mega Form, and therefore avoid death. Oh, clipped. Flawless, but he doesn't fall.
Honestly,
so 2 for 2.
Should have been punished harder there. Remember, they did not have a teleport, and Gnar was on the polar opposite of the map. They got an instant kill with the Morgana flash forward, but it was only ever going to be a 5v4. It's not relevant that Unitara didn't have teleport when you're fighting on the same side. Abyssal Voyage straight into the fight, and to come out even is a win for SBENU.
Yeah, and look, they engage within range of this Abyssal Voyage too.
Abyssal Voyage comes in instantly. It might as well be a teleport in this case, and Gnar spends the whole fight walking up. The Lance Spite's in a good spot. They eventually get the first kill onto the Alistair, but you can see from these flashing health bars, a couple of Mystic shots go a slightly different way, and this is a much worse fight for SBENU.
Yeah, maybe the end of the game, in fact. Nutty engage there from SBENU. Definitely the wrong battle to pick. Soar there in the nick of time to block some of those Mystic shots, to keep his allies alive, actually, just body blocking some of those Iceborne Gauntlet procs. So SBENU survives for a bit longer. They certainly can win this. We're not out of the realm of that possibility yet. CJ still wants to start up this dragon, but Nidalee is going to force the issue. Kramer has to arcane shift over the wall, so that cooldown now eliminated for the duration of this dragon. He gets it anyway with a Q. Oh, so unfortunate for SBENU, and now the fight's beginning. Madlife going to punt Ssumday right into the middle. Big Gnar ultimate, though, is going to be hit onto 3 members. There's a follow-up with Morgana, but they're dealing with Untara right now. Secret just dies, and now Flawless on the run, has to go over the wall. Soar pops over himself, but Kramer's there on the follow-up, and Kramer gets a triple when all is said and done. Nuclear, the only member of SBENU alive.
So Sarsen tried to occupy the frontline space. One thing you can do as the Kindred is be effectively a tank, walk and occupy enemy time with the ultimate, but did not manage the self-cast Lamb's Respite. Died with his ult available, so he just died in the front line. The team changed target, they pivoted, and they should get Baron and a 1-team fight as a result.
Well, that was definitely set up by Madlife's Engage, who found Sarsen in the front here as we take a look at this, because Sarsen's going to move forward and see what happens to him. Yeah, flash pull into headbutt, into stun, and he just is on the run, decides not to cast his ultimate.
He would have bought more time. Potentially they could have been trying to cut through Untara and at least be able to regroup and have a more even fight, but him dying almost instantly means that all these other squishy members kind of have to run in different directions, and it was only ever going to be a 1-team fight for CJ.
So now SBENU on the defensive. They have 1 tier 2 turret remaining, which they will be forced to give up, no doubt, but as for actually cracking this base, might be a difficult feat for CJ, and certainly they can tank a turret for a while, but there's a lot of poke damage. There's some sustain with this Nidalee, who has been building pretty much pure AP. They're going to try and get the drop onto Kramer, but Secret is found out. And here we go, Madlife in once again onto Sarsen. Nice glitter lance to start off this battle. Sarsen polymorphed and has to back away. But the poke damage here, they're going to try and turn on to Sky again. There's the knock-up coming through. But here's Soar over the side. He's going to ult only Untara. Meanwhile, Kramer firing from the other side of the wall is going to pick up the first kill of the fight. And I don't know if they have the damage. They're fighting in the Kindred ult right now, but that's not going to work out for the members of SBENU as the CC dominates the fight once again from Madlife, and that is a 4-for-0. There was no reason to fight right there.
And Nuclear was zoned the entire end of that fight, did no auto attack damage whatsoever. Kramer free hit first over the wall, then towards the side of his frontline tank line. It doesn't really matter if you don't have any other damage dealers when we're early enough in the game. That's not really a factor.
Tom Kench is here with the Abyssal Voyage, and this looks like it's going to be the end of game number 2 and send us into our 3rd game of the evening here between SBENU and CJ. CJ will net their first win of the season. It's been rough. It took them 6 games to do it, but they finally get one, and they put themselves on the verge of winning their first series.
Cover themselves in glory in the early game, but I think they really did round out and play that comp well. They turned on the